everyone, welcome again to the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a very quick road test of the 3 Group C cars that have been added to GT Sport in patch 1.19. Obviously these cars have been put into the Group 1 class of car in GT Sport, which is even more of a shame after driving these cars because they're so much fun to drive. However, I feel that the only way these cars are going to be competitive in terms of overall lap time to the top modern day LMP cars is because if the track's got very long straights. If you go to the Nürburgring GP track, these cars are going to be pointless because they're just not got the braking ability or the direction change ability. They are good fun and amazing to drive. They're more fun than they are on Assetto Corsa. Like we're driving now the Mercedes Group C car, and I've driven this on Assetto Corsa and other games, and it's great on Assetto Corsa, but it's a lot harder to drive. On GT Sport, these cars are a lot more fun. You can control them. I'm not running any traction controller. This is just a very quick test drive that I've done. Lap times are way off what I probably could get if I was to push these laps. Obviously, I think this Mercedes probably is close to potential of getting maybe a low 3 minute 20, maybe squeezing into a 3 minutes 19 if you were really pushing it. Obviously, I'm running all these laps that I'm going to show you now are on with the settings from sport mode. So running BOP on, racing hard tyres. This was done in the sport mode that's on today, the race for there. You can see I did a very quick lap with the Porsche that was in the previous video, 3 minutes 23.6. This is driving the Mercedes now, and I just wanted to test these cars out. This Mercedes is really nice on GT Sport. It's actually quite stable, but if you push the limits it will spin out, but it's just such a nice car to drive. The engine sounds on it are really nice. With the power down the straight, just look at the way the speed builds up in the straights. And this is why I'm saying about the class these cars are in. They're only going to be really competitive on straights. If you take the chicanes out of this Le Mans track, do the other version, these cars would probably beat all the 911 and 919 hybrid and stuff, because the acceleration these cars have got through the gears, because they've only got 5 gears, and once that turbo kicks in, the acceleration is so fast. I mean, you just look at the way it builds up speed through 3rd and 4th gear, this car. It's incredible the way it does it, and they are great fun to drive. They're just so fast down straight. And this is obviously with BOP on, so imagine what they'd be like without BOP on. They'd just be hitting that 200 miles per hour so fast. But the issue for me is I don't really want to race these against modern day LMP cars. It's a shame that they've included them in the same class, even though that they are competitive in a way. You probably can get close to the modern day LMP cars on this track, but like I say, it's not, you wouldn't get anywhere near on the Nürburgring GP track or anything with corners in, you know, the modern day 919 hybrid and stuff. Just got so much ability in the traction and putting the power down through the corners and everything that these older fashioned cars just won't live with them on them type of tracks. I don't think they would anyway, but in terms of how they are to drive, incredible fun. Really enjoy it. Physics are not as advanced as like games like Assetto Corsa. You know, these cars are a lot easier to drive on GT Sport. You know, on Assetto Corsa, these cars are tricky cars. It's when the turbo kicks in and you put that maximum power down, the rears are spinning up a lot on Assetto Corsa. It takes a lot of skill on Assetto Corsa. On GT Sport, it's a lot more user-friendly. You know, you can chuck the cars. You can see I went a little bit deep into these corners. The laps were not perfect. You can see there was quite a few mistakes on these laps, but it's great fun to drive these cars around the Le Mans track finally. And hopefully, maybe if they can add a couple more in, they might be thinking about making their own class. But I've got a feeling that they're not going to. I mean, you've already got the Group 2 class. It's only got 3 cars in it, so I don't see why they couldn't have just done the same thing with these, you know, GRC, and added in just these 3 cars, and then added some more in as they add them, with maybe the 787 going in on it as well when they eventually add that car into the game, if they ever do. It would make more sense to me. So next up we have the Jaguar Group C car, and this probably my favourite to drive in terms of the way it feels. It feels a little bit more more authentic to what it should feel like. It's not the hardest to drive. It's fairly easy still to drive, but it just feels so nice. The engine sounds on it, it's really enjoyable to drive. And again, I feel like this car, very similar to the Mercedes, you could push this to pretty much identical times, to maybe 3 minutes 20 low 320s to maybe late 319s. But I've seen that I think it's the Audi that's on the leaderboards, is pushing on to 3 minute 17s and stuff. So you're not gonna, I can't see these cars hitting that on this track. like I say again, if it would have been the without chicanes, this car would be very competitive, but it's not. So, and you're very rarely going to come up any track that's in favour of straight line speed as this track that we're on now. So these cars should be competitive at this track, if going by their BOP, but they're really not. So I'm a bit confused still why they've added them into the same class. But again, this car is really good fun to drive. It's just got to be a little bit careful on the power. You see there, putting the power down, just managed to catch it coming out of that corner, and that was because I was too aggressive getting on the power. And it will bite if you put the power down too hard when that turbo kicks in. You know, these cars have got massive turbos that will bite once it kicks in if you're too aggressive, but they're still, again, tamed compared to the proper simulation games out there, like Assetto Corsa and stuff. Although I don't think this car's on Assetto Corsa, but I think you can get mod versions of this car in other games, and like R Factor and stuff like that. It's a lot trickier on them games to drive these types of car, but it's still great fun on GT Sport, and that's why one of the reasons why I do like GT Sport, because it makes the fun. It makes the driving these cars is fun. It's not overly complicated. You still have to be a little bit cautious with putting the power in. As you can see, I was really cautious through this corner when I was driving these cars, because I was a bit unsure about how much speed you could take around there. You can see I actually ran a little bit wide, and again, that was getting on the power with this car. It's a tricky one compared to, I think the Mercedes was actually a little bit easier to get on the power than this Jaguar. It seemed a little bit more friendly in terms of how it put its power down, but this is why I think this car felt a little bit more alive and a little bit more risky when you put the power down. That's probably why I liked it, because it felt a little bit more authentic to what it should feel. But great fun to drive again, and I thoroughly enjoyed these cars. So far from what I've driven 4 of the cars on the update that's came out today. The 4 race cars, I'm not really worried about driving the road cars. I will drive them if and when they're in a daily racing, if I decide to do them. But the 4 race cars I wanted to try because the 3 Group C cars, they're classic cars and they're all good fun. And I've also tried the Megane, which I'm going to release on a separate video, a very quick video, driving that at Suzuka, and you'll hopefully get that video out today as well. I want to try and get all these 4 cars test driven and see how today. This video is the second video I've done today, and then the Megane will get tested. You can see there, going into that corner, it's a really tricky corner that when you go to turn in, I turned in too early, so I do need to just get more used to this track. This was obviously, I just quickly did, I think it was 1 or 2 laps with each car. Until I got a fairly okay lap. There were still mistakes in these laps, as you can see, but going through this final section there on the power as early as you can and just let it rev out, and then into 3rd gear, and we go over line pretty much identical time to Mercedes. I think it was within 3 or 4 attempts, but again, both of them laps had quite big errors, and you'll be pushing them into a 3:20, I think, if you really did nail the lap. Maybe a 3:21. I'm not too sure what they'll hit when they push really hard, but I'm pretty sure I could go at least a few seconds, 2-3 seconds faster. Now finally we have the Nissan, which is probably another really nice car. It's very fast on the straights, this car, mainly because the gearing's a little bit lower when you go through 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, so you're hitting the gears faster, but then 5th gear is really long, so you find that the top speed is very good on this car. You'll see when we get to the straights what I'm talking about, the top speed. It's quite stable to drive also, pretty similar to the Mercedes in terms of stability, but I still prefer the Jaguar to drive out of all of them. I felt like it was just, it's probably not the fastest the Jaguar. I wouldn't say it was the, it's not going to give you the best lap times, but I think the feeling when you were driving the Jaguar, just really nice feeling. And I'm brutally honest, you're not really going to be using these cars that much in terms of race conditions compared to the modern day cars, because the modern day cars are going to be easier to drive and attack the corners. So it's going to be very rare that you actually use these older classic cars. Some people will probably want to try them out and then race with them against the more modern cars, and it will be good fun, because if you can qualify properly at the front and just pick the car, one of the ones with the fastest top speed, probably this car I would pick, because it handles reasonably stable. It's kind of a cross between both the Jaguar and the Mercedes in terms of its handling, but it's got amazing top speed. Just look at the top speed it's hitting already here, 215, nearly 220 miles per hour before that part of the straight, and that's not the fastest part of the track, so it just shows you how fast this car is. And you're pretty much going to be none of the modern day cars are going to be able to overtake this car on the straight line. So if you do qualify in a modern car and then raced in this, you would find that them cars would find it really hard to get past. Obviously, they're going to have to speed through the corners, but if you're ahead on the straights, there's not much they could do. So that would be probably quite fun in defending, obviously, the modern day cars in one of these old cars. That could be something you could do. As you can see there, I ran really wide into that corner. Totally brake too late. I was trying to push this lap a little bit harder because this was the final car that I drove, and I was starting to get used to the handling on these Group C cars. So I tried to go in there a little bit too aggressively and lost probably quite a big chunk of time, probably at least maybe half a second to a second, because I was then slow on the power. And obviously with these turbo cars, when you're not getting them revving, they're not as fast as accelerating. You need to keep these cars revving. As you can see, they're pushing really hard through the corner and then into this left-hand corner as you're braking constantly around that corner, and it looks so good, these cars on GT Sport. Again, I'm glad that they added these cars in. You know, these are some cars that you really want in every single racing game. They're really fun to drive. As you can see now, accelerating, just watch the way this car accelerates. Look at the miles per hour, the way it's just constantly going up. Yeah, we're hitting 180 now, 190 nearly there. It's just incredible the way these cars accelerate. And as you can see there, this car actually handles pretty more, okay, considering it's an old-fashioned car. You can see there I pushed a little bit too hard in there again, but not as hard as what I did when I was going to the Mercedes, and I ran really wide. And again, this corner is quite a tricky one. You can see what I mean by it being unsighted. You don't really see the apex. You have to just throw it in there, and you can see I went to throw it in again a little bit too early, so lost a bit more time. I think this car has very good potential as well. I think you're probably going to be able to creep this car into a 3 minutes 19 again. But like I say, to get it into a low 18 or a 17, I think would be a very hard task. You're going to be really struggling to do that. As you can see, we go over the line this time, 3 minutes 24, and that's not a bad lap considering it's only a little bit behind the lap I did in the Porsche 919 Hybrid, and this lap had a lot of errors in it. But obviously that Porsche lap had quite a few errors in as well. So it'd be really interesting to see what these cars can do when pushed hard. But I don't think they're going to be competitive compared to the 919 Hybrid and cars like that, or the Audi at this track. It's just not going to really, they're not going to be able to push them cars. They're great fun to drive, thoroughly enjoyable to drive, and they've done a really good job with these cars. The way they feel, the way you put the power down, you still have to give them respect in terms of using half throttle every now and then, but they're not Assetto Corsa kind of deep in the simulation. They're not going to snap on you if you like a 5% too much input on the throttle. Assetto Corsa, if you go ever so slightly too aggressive, the cars would just snap and bite and crash on you, spin out. But this has they're a little bit more fun to drive, and they're a little bit more easy. So they're great fun. I just wish they would have added these into their own class. Maybe it'll happen in the future, who knows. Anyway, I'm going to be back hopefully again later on today with the test of the Group 4 Megane. That car is absolutely amazing to drive. I have driven it. Great fun to drive, and it looks amazing. And I feel like that the Renault is going to be a little bit more of a favourable. It could make the Renault a bit more favourable in terms of picking as a manufacturer now in the FIA with that car in there. It's really good fun. Anyway guys, I'll be back very soon with more videos on GT Sport. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. I do upload every single day on GT Sport, and obviously the odd video on Assetto Corsa and other games. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll be back very soon.